Aina, and welcome to Voices of Truth, one-on-one with Hawaii's future, brought to you by the Kiwani Foundation. I'm Ehu Kekahu Cardwell, and here we are today on the island of Oahu, on the North Shore. And I'll tell you this right now, we have a fascinating guest on the show, so let's go on over here and meet him. Ian.
Aloha.
Aloha. How are you?
Maikai.
Good. Ian Masterson, did I say your name right?
Yes.
Wonderful. And Ian, tell us exactly where we are today. This is beautiful here.
Oh, this is a beautiful place. We're in Kahana Valley, and I love it here because of the famed Hawaiian surfing site, Heikai Ahiu Ko Kahana.
Wow. Wow. Yes. And you've lived here a long time, yes?
Yes,
Tell us how long.
I've lived here since 1980, so all of 8 years of my life.
Wow.
You know, all but 8 years. And
but you have a very interesting life and a very interesting background. Tell us about your family and how they got here.
Well, yes, I do. I was born internationally in Malaysia because my dad was one of the first 1,000 expats to go into business over there. So my mom was working for TWA, and we lived abroad for several years, and I was born over there. Well, my mom's family, she is Portuguese immigrant from the first boat of Portuguese to come, the first 3 ships, the Ravenscraig, the Priscilla, and the Hankau, that had come from Madeira Island and the Azores and Porto Santo.
In what year?
They left in 1878 and went down around the Horn and came up to Hawaii in 1879, got here in August.
Wow, when this was the Hawaiian Kingdom?
Yes, it was the Hawaiian Kingdom. My nana tells the story that King Kalakaua was good friends with the King of Portugal, and on his world tour they went to Madeira and they found this volcanic island at about the same latitude as Hawaii, but in the Atlantic, 800 miles off of Morocco, and full of an island people that built rock terraces for their grape vineyards, and were very loving, fun people who loved music, and the small braguinha or machete was the instrument of that island. And so the king invited the people to come to Hawaii to work on the plantations. And so there was a famine at the time. That wasn't good crop for the grapes that year. And so my grandpa got on the ship, the Ravenscraig, and came to Hawaii. And so that's the ship credited with the person jumping off the docks and playing the braguinha on the shoreline, which became known as the ukulele.
Wow, yeah. Wow. And so your family did some pretty interesting things after they came to Hawaii, yes?
Yes. Augusto Diaz, my great-great-great-grandfather, opened the first guitar shop in Honolulu on King Street.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was, he was a troubadour and came with skills in making and playing the ukulele, as well as the other Portuguese instruments, stringed instruments. And so he opened Diaz Guitars, and King Kalakaua would bring his carriage down and actually give instructions on how he wanted his guitars and rahaus and braguinhas made.
So he built musical instruments, guitars for Kalakaua, yes?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
And we were given the honor of putting the royal crest on some of those instruments. So
wow.
Feel really honored. The story behind it is that the 11-year-old granddaughter, Auntie Tina, would translate for the English that the king would give into Portuguese for Grandpa, because he could only speak Portuguese. So that's
wow.
kind of the history. They were all up on the front of Punch Bowl and in that area of town, and he's still there in the cemetery over there in front, a Makiki cemetery. So.
Wow, amazing, amazing. All right, so you yourself have lived a very interesting life here in Hawaii, yeah?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, you have a title, a name that everybody calls you, right?
Yeah, we can fast forward a bunch of years.
Tell us what it is.
All right. It's the surf professor.
The surf professor.
And has everything to do, and I'm grateful for Jamie Lee Curtis, the famous actress who, when her son Tommy Jr. was young, she and another family, Rona Elliott and her family, wanted to learn about surfing and to have me take the kids around because she was so world famous. But after spending a few weeks together and a few years doing this, she said, you know, I love your company name, but you're more than that. And we're standing on the bridge at Waimea Bay, and she said, in fact, you're the surf professor. And that was early 2000s, and you know, it's like, oh gosh, you know. When she speaks, you listen, and really came to embody that over the years. I had already started this journey down looking at surfing as a traditional Hawaiian cultural activity, really out of a history of doing archaeology for a local company, Cultural Surveys Hawaii, for over 30 years.
Wow, wow. So how long have you been surfing, Ian? Since you were a kid?
Since I was a kid, you know, I bought my first single fin surfboard at the haunted house over on Trent Lane behind our place in Kailua, and
wow.
on L'Orange by Duck Road there. And started surfing at Kailua Shorebreak, similar to my heroes from that place, like Hans Hedemann and Buzzy Kerbox, you know, those guys.
Right.
More famous surfers, and it's been a lifelong journey of surfing awesome waves here on Oahu, which is full of some of the best waves in the world.
Yes.
I, over the years, have developed a relationship with Waimea Bay, and so now I broke my leg in '99 surfing Miley Point. My friend Sam Pai got me out of the water, saved my life, carried me on the beach, and I had set it underwater. It was quite a moment to remember and to think about, and it really kind of inspired me to follow my bliss, to reach goals that, you know, when I was underwater thinking about this whole thing, I thought, oh, I'm not done. And what should I do? And all that believing, in one moment I reached down and caressed my leg and pulled it and set the leg underwater. It came up. In that moment, there was a healing that happened, and a direction that I really took on. I had just lost my mom, and so I was in an intense way.
So a healing of more than just your leg.
Right. In that journey to really reach the highest heights. And so that was, I had been surfing Waimea Bay, but I really committed to it, and now I've got 23 years under my belt and had the honor of being Uncle Clyde Aikau's surfboard caddy for the 2016 Eddy. That was me sweeping him off the shoreline with the lifeguards at that one intense moment as he came in after having hurt himself. And then again, helping him this year was just fantastic and amazing to be part of the Ere Aikau big wave competition this year. Wow. The biggest, best ever. So we're glad we held our ground. It took all the knowledge I had about surf forecasting to really to help us stand our ground, because the forecast for that contest was a little iffy. The models weren't getting what the charts and reports said should happen based on all the information given. And I'm proud of Clyde that he stood with his decision, and we ended up really sharing surfing with the world in a very Hawaiian way. It was very powerful.
Good. Very good.
That contest. So yeah, so it's been an exciting journey in my surfing life, that a lot of it right before then, just 6 months before I broke my leg surfing Miley Point. I was in Hawaiian language class at Winter Community College with Kalani Maineki, my kumu, and an article came out about Plymouth University in England offering a surf science and technology degree.
Wait a minute. In England?
In England. Okay, there it is exactly. That's exactly what we're talking about. In England? Wait, what? And of course, Kumu would bring in whatever articles to get me to talk in Hawaiian, so he'd bring in surf articles. He brought this in, he said, in England, no less. Here we are in Hawaii, in the cradle of surfing. And do we give it any educational credence? No. So I said I was ready. Heli England, go do the program over there. He said, why do that? We would miss you. Why don't you introduce something here at Winter Community College? So I did. I went to the non-credit side, the career and community education, and I offered a 2-week summer lecture series where first person I called was Fred and Joni Van Dyke, and sat down with them because he was my mom's teacher and my teacher. at Punahou, and I said, will you come and speak in this class? And I wrote out a list of all these people to have come and speak. And he said, you keep doing this, because one day people will come to you as a resource about surfing. And here's this academician who's author, writing books like Surfing Big Waves with Ease, and a big inspiration for me as a pioneer surfer. So I stuck to that.
Well, but just to be clear, I mean, what we're talking about here is classes in college about surfing.
Right, so the lecture series turned into, from all of the different lectures and talk stories, we developed a curriculum, because the reality is that as a surfer, Hollywood gives us a stereotype.
Yes,
of
course.
Goodness that nobody knows who Spicoli is anymore, but forgive me. But
that's not the real surfing.
Right.
That's not the real culture.
It takes a very educated, physically fit, mentally strong, and prepared person to go out in the ocean, and one with humility and respect as well. Mm-hmm. And a surfer is linked through thousands of years of the seafaring tradition as well. And so
it is a seafaring tradition, isn't it?
It is. Professor Ben Finney, who was one of my mentors, and the first textbook I had was his book. He calls it a basic marine adaptation of the seafaring peoples of Oceania.
Mm-hmm. Very well said.
Yes. And a gift that came from Hawaii to the world through Duke Kahanamoku, through the princes Koananakoa, cousins, and Prince Jonah Kuhio Kalaniana Ole going abroad and surfing. And from that now,
putting on.
Yeah, look at where we're at now.
Yeah, wow, amazing.
So the college courses turned into Pacific Surf Science and Technology, and one Polynesian surf culture class that grew at Windward for many years. And then upon Professor Finney's death, anthropology, they decided that they wanted to support his surfing academic aspects, and so they asked to build a couple courses in surfing, and so I had the honor of teaching that. Now I've got 40 students, mostly exchanged from all over the continent, because people go, I'm going to go study in Hawaii for a year. I think I'm going to go take this surfing class.
And everybody's going, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Ian, I got to tell you, I feel so sorry for you.
Yeah. It's last week I was here at Kahana with all of them, and this wind has been blowing now for almost a whole month. And it's only when this wind blows from the northeast, from the Ko'olau direction, that the wave stands up in the bay.
Wow.
So we even got afforded the opportunity to surf this ancient surfing site, and really to make that connection for people that surfing truly is a traditional Hawaiian cultural activity. So yeah, I do love my job. When they give me the classes, I love it.
So where did those surf classes lead you? Did it go someplace next?
Well, it was it led me into getting my degrees so that I could continue to teach at the university level. I did anthropology at Hawaii Pacific University as my undergrad after having graduated with AA from Windward Community College, and then went on to do a Pacific Islands Studies degree at UH Manoa to broaden my understanding of surfing and really place it in the context of the whole of Oceania, of the Austronesian voyagers. And I really had come to learn how connected it is with voyaging traditions, from the carving of a surfboard through, which is something that I'm passionate about doing, through the traditions and even the deities involved with those processes.
Wow.
Down to Hi'iaka coming into Kahana in the 1400s here.
Wow.
To honor the surfing chief of Kahana, Pālani.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, so surfing is very, very deep.
Yes.
And wide. The culture of surfing. And it's an intricately connected into the Hawaiian culture.
Yes.
If you separated out surfing from the Hawaiian culture, it wouldn't be the same.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's such an interesting point that you bring up there, because surfing, because it's more than a lifestyle. It's more than just a passion. It's more than a recreational activity. wherever surfing is introduced, wherever there are waves to be surfed, rivers and everywhere, a surf culture seems to develop. And it's based on the root culture, but you're right. In lacking the values, it may be missing the values of the host culture. So surfing as an integrated Hawaiian activity, integrated as a daily practice, as a ritual athletic activity, as well as a poetic metaphor that is a theme that runs through the mythology, which is place-based mythology. And in that way, the myths and legends are poetic visions encoded with environmental and cultural information that really bring about ho'olulahui, the growth of a nation, of people. But it comes with the values and the respect and the kapu, and as well as the good actions of people.
Well, it's like something you said earlier that really struck me, which is you said you had a relationship with the ocean out there, with that particular area, with that particular beach. So it isn't like I'm going to drive to some beach, grab my board, jump in the water and surf, because there's a lot more to it than that. It's a relationship just like we have relationships with people.
Yes, absolutely.
You see.
And it's a very intimate relationship that, it's an intimate relationship with nature, as many of the kupuna have said, call to nature and nature answers. And to know when, like this famed wave rarely breaks. And even in the mythology, it talks about the ahiu wind, the wild swirling wind of Kahana, as a mountain wind that blows from the ka'alo'i, the crooked taro patches up in the mountains, all the way down to the sands of Ka'alehualoa and out onto the fish pond of Huilua. And, you know, if you're a surfer on this side who surfs this place, of course, academically, I was thinking, how could that be? The only time this wave breaks is when the wind's blowing 30 knots onshore for at least 3 days. Oh, but what happens? The high pressure moves off to the east, going towards the continent there, and then the winds turned more out of the east. And so we have the whole mountain of Pu'umanamana that blocks the winds, and the low gap between Pu'uohulehule behind Ka'a'ava, where the winds blow from Kaneohe Bay, right there in Hakipu'u, by my house, straight up and into the back, and blow down here. So we'll have a beautiful, sunny, offshore light winds day full of perfect surf. And it's where all of the Hawaiians who live on this coast have grown up and learned to surf. I've been honored to be a part of that. And so it is a passion to be there. And yesterday was the moment I was there for one of the biggest waves that I've ever caught out there. And I got to share it with a friend because there's plenty of room on a wave like that. And I was just astounded. And, you know, when I got towards shore, I was just shivering with excitement. And when Hi'iaka comes over that mountain pass and talks about the wind blowing down the mountain, she says, "Ho, pue, pue," shivering from the cold wind.
Unfortunately, a lot of people, especially I guess outside of Hawaii, who have seen the Hollywood version of surfing, think that it's just like, you know, oh, let's go for a jog, or let's just go play a round of miniature golf, or let's just go get some amusement type of thing. Let's grab our board, hit the water, that type of thing. It's not even close to that. What we heard and saw from you a moment ago, that's what it's really about, you see.
Yes.
Isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And that's why it means so much to the Hawaiian surfers in our community, as well as to those of us who have had the honor of surfing in this place. And it was, I went into it as a flashy 80s wetsuit, you know, surfer kid in an American context, and really came out of it. I don't know if it was, you know, early morning in the barrel seeing a star out on the North Shore, or just every experience, every moment out there.
That's what it was. Every experience, every moment. This, you can't conjure this up. You can't feel this. You can't get connected like this in a day or a week or a month or a year.
It's all place-based.
Yeah.
And these surfing sites were important in the concept of the ahupua'a. They were celebrated. People Ancient surfers went all across the island surfing these places, and so we see layers and layers of context and culture in a globalized world that we have today.
Yes.
But meanwhile, what's happening inside is a very deeply rooted connection with the place and with the ocean that's always speaking to you, and you know, part of that connection is the people we surf with.
Sure. But you still couldn't do it without having a connection with the water. You still couldn't do it without having a connection with the mountains around you. You still couldn't do it without having a connection with the gods.
That's true.
You know, that are here.
Yes.
Well, you couldn't do it without a connection to everything that is here that we all are submersed in right now, just like you are when you go out surfing. The difference is you recognize that. The difference is you've grown a relationship over years with them and they with you. Yes?
Yes, I feel very humbled to walk among the deities of this place, the gods and goddesses and all those that realm. The 1, the 4, the 40, the 400,000
That's right.
Kiniakua that preside over all aspects of nature and are always speaking to us.
Yeah.
That's where conscious action becomes really important, even if it is a pule or a prayer for your own deity. See, I mean, even the Hawaiian, the deities are the ancestors. They are the people of this place. Wherever we are in Hawaii, you know, we're walking on sacred ground. Because mana is residual, right? And so it's like footprints in the sand.
Because it resides right here.
Yeah, nao neha nao. These are the sands of our birth. The ancestors are in those sands. Even more so, every person who walked on top of that land, their mana, their aloha, their spirit is in that land. So, you know, tread lightly.
Yeah, we're standing on it right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then even more so to be able to surf somewhere and to look upon the shoreline and maybe to let some of those buildings fall away. Even on this side, to see, you know, where the state has at least kept this as a state park with the Hawaiians in it, we can look upon the scenes that were once seen by those ancient surfers, men and women alike.
Yes. Yes.
Na kupa he'e ahiu I ka la'io kahana, the chiefly children surfing in the calm, pleasant, the calm of kahana.
All right, now Ian, what does it feel like for you when you're out there and you feel connected to all of these things and all of these ancestors and all of these deities out there? You feel at one with them. What is that like?
One word is humility, really. It's just like, you know, it's very humbling. And I put my life in that belief.
You put your life in their hands. Yes.
In their hands. And, you know, as I ride, when Hi'aka came over, the first thing she said was, Kakala I ka lauwili o ke ko'olau. The rough, steep wind swell, I ka lauwili, that they would, the kakala is that. Lauwili is the Willy Willy surfboard, our very lightest surfboard, the olo that is 16 feet long, and o ke ko'olau. So she talks about the rough waves upon which you ride the Willy Willy surfboard. So I have my 14-foot long Willy Willy surfboard that I take out there that's of the Olo design. And so it's got a rounded bottom, lean left and go right. It's very opposite of modern surfing. And yet the experience of taking off and getting that whole 14 feet to get on a rail and stand up and ride lala diagonally across the face of a wave that the ancients were surfing, there's a lot of faith in that they were actually practicing this activity, that they were doing it. Mm-hmm. And Ben Finney was the one. Professor said, hey, I went and showed that they were surfing in the myths and legends. I did the research. Now you go out and make a board and ride it. Well, generations later, we just finished the Buffalo Keaulana contest, and those kids rip on the Alaya boards like, there are Hawaiians surfing like they have always surfed, on boards without fins that were made just like the ancients. And that tradition has come forward again. And there's a connection that comes with surfing a board you've made, surfing in a place where the ancients were surfing. And I'd say that feeling is that very much that welling up. I'm forever grateful and forever humbled, and want to give back in any way I can and help to be a part of this place and this culture, as we should. We're all living here, and honor these traditions.
What an amazing story, Ian. Mahalo for sharing it with us. Please keep doing what you're doing. This is where we got to wrap it, but please keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop, because you're making a difference.
Thank you.
The Surf Professor.
I'm honored. Mahalo
to you.
Mahalo
to you, and mahalo to our viewers. Mahalo for joining Ian and me here.
Thank you.
And remember, you can watch us on the web 24/7 on voicesoftruthtv.com, and you can like Voices of Truth on Facebook. I'm Kahu Cardwell for the Kiwani Foundation, along with Ian, the Surf Professor here. And until next time, ahui ho!
Ahui ho!
Free Hawaii Broadcasting Network.